I did a video a little while back, it was in April, responding to this video here called Proving Islam in 5 minutes and 10 seconds minutes. My video has a stupid title. It's called Dumb Islam Arguments Presented Dumbly. It didn't used to be, I don't remember what it used to be, but that video was doing horribly on views, and I messed around with a bunch of other titles, seeing what showed any sign of resuscitating it, and that was the one that I thought showed the most signs of improvement, so that's what I stuck with. And I bet that by now in the comments of that video there's a bunch of people saying, actually, doing something dumbly means doing it without speaking. Maybe not, I don't know, I haven't looked at the comments, but I wouldn't be surprised. If so, you better take it up with the algorithm or the viewers or somebody, I guess, cause that video did finally pick up. It's moderately successful relative to its peers at this point. Anyway, the creator's original video did really well. It's the second best performing video he ever made. And obviously he wanted to capitalize on that momentum, which is understandable. And so a few weeks later he made Proving Allah's Existence in 6 minutes and 40 seconds minutes, which ended up with like 1,000 views. Now what's kind of interesting about this follow-up video is a lot of it is almost identical to the first video. He basically copy-pasted like a third of the video from himself, including some of the worst stuff from the first one. I'll show the occasional example of that as we go through this, but it's really a remarkably lazy product. And yet somehow in the second video, he still has the nerve to say this.
I have put so much hard work into this video, bro. And after so much hard work, I've collected 5 points that will help us prove Islam.
Oh, never mind. That was from the first video. Here's what he said in the second one.
I have put so much hard work into this and I've collected 4 proofs
that will help us prove the existence of Allah.
That's better. They're easy to get mixed up. I have to go by the color of his shirt to even tell them apart. Dark blue shirt, first video. Light blue shirt, second video. Okay? Wait, no, the other way around. Damn it. See, it's hard.
Allah surely exists. I'm going to prove that in short amount of time.
Oh, so you're keeping it vague at the start. You're not starting out planning for it to be 6 minutes and 40 seconds minutes. That'd be hard work, trying to constrain yourself to a certain amount of short amount of time. Instead, just make the video and then put the length of it in the title at the end, which doesn't make a lot of sense when it's not nice and round to the minute. Proving Allah in 5 minutes, that makes sense. Or maybe a bit more vague would even be better. Proving Allah in just a few minutes. Maybe seconds could sometimes make sense. Proving Satan in 6 minutes and 66 seconds. But what relevance does 6 minutes and 40 seconds have to anything you're talking about? What's the significance? Obviously none, so why put it there?
So let's begin. Proof number 1. Proof number 1.
Let's begin. Proof number 1.
Existence of Allah is self-evident truth.
Okay, well, now you don't just have to prove Allah, now you have to prove that. I'm not sure if that makes your job any easier, really.
We don't have to see Allah with our own eyes to prove that Allah exists.
Well, sure, I understand that Allah is not posited to have like a material self that physically interacts with visible light. But sorry, I'm still going to need some sort of an indication that he exists to believe that he exists. When you say he's self-evident, some people use that in a casual way to mean just, it's really obvious, but that's not really what it means. If that were all it meant, it wouldn't really mean much of use. It would just mean the speaker thinks that whatever the speaker is saying is obvious fact, and okay, but that doesn't do anything for anyone else. So the only useful usage of the term really is the epistemological usage, which is that the proposition is proof of its own truth. Basically, for it not to be true would bring it into like definitional conflict with itself. For it to be false would be a logical contradiction. These tend to be formal math logic kind of stuff. I can almost guarantee that's not going to be relevant here. I saw your other video. The casual usage is stuff like, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, blah, 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 blah. And while the writers may or may not hold them to be self-evident, these are not self-evident truths. This is a fancy way of saying, I think my opinion is obvious fact, and I'm done arguing about it. Remember, that's from the Declaration of Independence. But it's still, like everything else, entirely debatable because some guy thinking it doesn't mean it's true.
Because it's already proven in natural human logic by default.
What is that? That's not a term that people use. What do you mean by that? Is this some appeal to common sense? What is this?
So many atheists say that we have never seen proof for the creator of this universe.
Yeah, I have seen that once or twice. Good observation.
Atheists also say that believing in creator of this universe is just an assumption.
By which I'm going to assume you just mean something that you take as true without sufficient information. I always interpret the word assumption with a little bit more nuance than that. Like, to me it has a finer grained meaning than that, and it's a little bit hard to really articulate what that is. But that's just me. That's not a problem with you here. Yeah, I think it's pretty common for atheists to express the general kind of sentiment that you're trying to describe here.
But no. There is a creator of this universe, and that is surely the truth.
Cool. Well, if that's the case, I'll tell you right now I want to know it, because that would be important information, especially if that creator is anything like what you guys say he's like. But to be clear, when I say I want to know it, that means I want to have justified belief in it, if it's true. I don't just want to take your word for it. Hearing that it's common sense isn't going to be good enough. Some trashy bottom-of-the-barrel argument isn't going to be good enough. In my life, I've become convinced of some things that initially sound pretty wild. Still maybe not quite as unintuitive and bizarre sounding to me as the God claim is. But still, I don't think it's that much of a stretch. If the thing is true, and that truth is actually accessible, I think it can be done. Maybe I just haven't met the right argument yet. Maybe the right guy to give it to me is you. The AI airplanes prove God guy, if you recall from the last video. Yeah, maybe you're not the guy.
I'm gonna explain why that is. I'll try to explain it to you in an easy way.
Last time you tried it the easy way and it sucked. This time could you try it a way that's harder but less bad?
So everyone knows that a painting like this is always made by a painter.
Or go for the world's worst ever presentation of a shitty argument, that's okay too. There's an AI airplane again. I never expected anyone to try this once, let alone twice. Just to refresh your memory, here's the first time.
If I showed you this art and I asked you where did it come from, the answer that you'll probably give me is that an artist made it.
Yes, the painterless painting, the artistless art, had to have been made by a painter artist. You know what? If you can't be bothered, I'll do it myself. Alright, I'm here making my picture. I don't have a lot of space here. I only have this little spot on my desk. What do you call that thing? The flat thing you put the colors on? Palette. I don't have one of those. Alright, I found a piece of plastic. I guess that works. Now, just to be clear here, I am still wearing the glasses just to get an authentic experience. So if the colors are a little bit off, that's not my fault. Blame, I don't know, physics. What color is the sky? I honestly can't tell. These 3D glasses make it really hard to tell what color it is, so... is this red or brown? We're just gonna put, oh, that's very gummy. That looks pretty good, probably. I mean, it looks brown, frankly. It looks brown to me. Oh, that smell is very strong. I don't have very good ventilation in here, so if I get a little loopy, blame Bob for telling me to do this. And beat the devil into it. Okay. Put some happy little mountains in right there. Happy little menacing, angry mountains in right there. It doesn't really look anything like the picture, if I'm being honest. But that's okay. That's alright. That's okay. The picture sucks anyway. It's an AI piece of shit. Every time I screw up the top of the mountain, I bring it higher because I'm trying to fix it, and then it ends up like really, really high. I wish I could see what colors I'm even painting with. That'd be really nice. That seems bad. And so I take some, whoops, I probably have way too much on this knife. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Not liking this one bit. Now, how about that? Is that working? Ah, I scraped it all off. How do I put it back on? Something about this doesn't seem quite right to me. I feel like I should be doing this in long, smooth strokes, but every time I do that, it kind of screws up. This is bad. How does Bob Ross make his colors not just mix into each other immediately? Paint some clouds. That is turning purple. That is immediately turning into purple mud. I realize too I'm wearing one of my good shirts. That's not helpful. Crap. Yeah, that's a shit mountain. That's like a 2 out of 10 mountain right there. It's all getting so muddy now. I can't even tell what I'm doing anymore. Happy little sun right up here. Happy little sun right up here, really bright. And then we got a sunbeam coming straight down. There's that bravery test. Bob Ross bravery test. It's a little bit too beefy of a sunbeam. All right, Mr. Beefy Sunbeam. There we go. We'll sort of pretend that never happened. Yeah, that looks nice and bad. I really am sorry, clouds, but you're just going to be very purple. If you look at the plane, you might notice something a little strange about it. And the thing that's kind of strange about it is I think it's flying upside down. We're going to put a happy little upside down plane right here. And we'll have some happy little... Oh my god, that's not even remotely painting in. It's not the best plane that anyone's ever painted. I mean, it's got to be up there, but it's not like the best. It's the same problem I had with the mountains. I try to fix the plane, and then the plane gets bigger. Okay, it's getting kind of fat around the midsection. I might just be using too much paint, but I kind of have to use too much paint because if I don't, I have the problem that it just ends up muddy purple. I'm having problems, big problems. This is not a plane. This is a Zeppelin with stabilizers out to the sides. Okay. Now I got to put these little stabilizer nipples on our stabilizers like this. I think I'm gonna call it done because this masterpiece It's just telling me that it needs to be done because I need to be done looking at it. Yeah, I don't know how to paint with oil paint. There, now this was made by a painter artist. A human made it, and it's technically art, just barely.
So even if this painting is found in the depths of a sea,
which is where it might wind up, because I'm not keeping this. I don't want to see it anymore. Ugh.
Where there is no human, then everyone still knows that this painting is made by a painter.
So, considering that I responded to this exact argument in the first video, and I did it well enough, I would say, is there any point in me doing it here? Not really, right? So I can just kind of goof off for a while.
Now if someone is weird and says, no, this painting is not made by a painter, that person says this painting is made by, let's just say, quantum fluctuations. That person have no proof that this painting is made by quantum fluctuations.
What if they do, though? What if they come to you with some? What would your response be? No, it's common sense. It was obviously made by a painter. That's natural human logic. It's self-evidently true. Look, obviously I'm not saying the painting was made by quantum fluctuations in any sort of proximate sense. And considering that we're obviously not talking about the painting, we're talking about the universe. I'm not saying the universe was either, or that you should believe it was. All I'm saying is that when you consider something to be absolutely proven, on the basis that you find it to be common sense, you're necessarily closing yourself off to alternative explanations that might have something going for them, but you'll probably never know because considering your attitude, you'll preemptively discount them unexamined, which is an approach that might lead to you being right occasionally by chance, and will lead to you being wrong a lot.
That person have no proof that this painting is made by quantum fluctuations. Then why should we believe it?
If there's no proof, which I think is just a stronger way of saying no compelling evidence, you probably shouldn't if you don't like being wrong. If there's nothing supporting it, then you have a really bad chance of being right. Now, I want to make this clear to you. This is exactly how I see your belief. Equally absurd, equally poorly supported, equally unjustifiably ignoring possibilities that seem far simpler, which are based on entities already known to exist and which fit better into the existing body of knowledge, and have better predictive power. Your God idea has an uphill battle with me for the exact same reason as this idea about the painting has an uphill battle with both you and me.
Now you might say that, well, you can't even prove that the painting that was in the depths of a sea is made by a painter as well because we never seen the painter.
And now we're to the stuff I talked about in the other video. No, paintings are things that we know about. We understand their origins already. We have many, many examples of where they come from. Inference and Occam's razor are plenty sufficient here. That's not the case for universes. We have a sample size of 1, which we know barely anything about. Its deeper nature is still incredibly mysterious, and therefore we don't have the information to say anything about it the way that we do for a painting. It's highly unlikely that there's any meaningful analogy to be made between a human-level phenomenon like a painting and something like a universe. If you make an analogy like that, I'm not just going to assume that that analogy holds and reflects something real about the nature of the universe just because you said so. That's yet another thing that you're going to have to argue for, that you're going to have to convince me of, because it's anything but obvious. This is not, oh, we've never seen God, so I don't believe it. This isn't about God, really. Your argument is about the universe. You're saying there's some sort of a link between things humans make and the universe, and that we have to draw some kind of a equivalency between these things. And I see the universe. I'm not saying, oh, I don't see the universe. I'm saying I don't see any evidence that the universe is anything like what you're saying it's like, and that the existence of human-made objects implies anything about it. If you could convince me of that, though, maybe I would be more open to your explanation being potentially true. I don't need to see the God for that. I just need you to convince me that your claims about other stuff that supposedly support the existence of God are actually true, which you don't do. You're going to proceed in this video to tell me how much you don't need to. You're looking for excuses not to bother.
The thing is, we as normal humans with natural human logic,
Not a thing.
we don't have to prove that the painting is made by a painter.
You're right. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. If somebody comes to you and says, I don't believe that painting is made by a painter because it's AI and it's not a painting, you don't have to try to prove them wrong. You can just let them carry on believing it's AI slop. That's entirely allowed. Their beliefs are not your responsibility. You're under no obligation to attempt to change them. Although in the particular case of your painting, it would be really funny if you tried. So I demand that you do it.
Because everyone already knows that painting is always made by a painter.
Do they? Does my infant daughter know that? How do you know she knows that? How do you know that's not something learned? A heuristic gradually developed by the brain through seeing enough things that humans make. You don't think that's how it works? You think everyone just knows this by default? Okay, well, I disagree. So that's another thing you've assumed and used as a premise that you're going to have to convince me of. And yes, I say have to, in the sense that if you want me to accept your argument, which is the whole point of this, that's going to have to happen before that happens. This is a crucial premise. It has to be accepted as sound, or in the eyes of the person you're trying to convince, your argument will fall apart.
But when someone is weird and says the painting is not made by a painter, it's made by quantum fluctuations, and if that person wants people to believe that, then he needs to provide proof.
Thank you for specifying that. That is a very important point. It's about if you want someone to believe something you're saying. Otherwise, you don't have to demonstrate anything.
Because they are going against a natural human logic to believe that there is always a painter for a complex painting.
So then natural human logic, I guess, is supposed to mean everything that people just believe by default. It's the vanilla set of beliefs. No mods installed. Okay, that doesn't actually sound like logic, then. It sounds like assumptions. Natural human assumptions is what it sounds like you're saying. I guess I could take it as not referring to the belief itself, but more so to the process by which people derive the belief, which is just massive amounts of input about stuff in the world and what it looks like and what properties it has in common, and the invention of categories from that. And then a massive amount of input about the kind of stuff humans do, which leads eventually to certain categories of things being classified as things humans make, after seeing many examples of humans making similar sorts of things. I guess you could say that that kind of categorization is pretty natural, it's pretty instinctive, but if we're instinctively labeling certain categories of things as made by humans, that implies that we're also not labeling other categories of things as made by humans, correct? Otherwise there's no distinction. Okay, well in that case, I have a bunch of different categories of things that I see as human-made, based on my experiences, and the rest I don't. And aside from things made by other animals, like beavers or whatever, I don't see other stuff as obviously made by any living being. I have literally no examples of such a thing happening. When it comes to universes, I have no examples of them being made at all. I don't even know if that's a thing that can happen, and I have no experience of anyone of any kind doing it. Nothing remotely similar to my experience of humans doing human stuff. Literally not one single example. So why would I turn this into some sort of a rule of thumb about how things are? Why would I interpret reality in that way? There's nothing about the situation that implies that I should. Why would I think that's more likely than not? This, to me, is what's common sense. And if you disagree and think, no, what I think is common sense, I don't care, because I disagree with you back. If you want me to believe you about this whole natural human logic premise, convince me or don't. Currently, I don't accept the premise, so I'm not going to accept the conclusion that's based on it, which is your problem, not mine.
Similarly with the natural human logic, this universe is far more complex than a painting.
It's not about complexity. That's not what defines design. This is more stuff we talked about before. I'm just going to move on.
This art is made by an artist. Then with the same logic, this universe must have been made by a creator as well.
Sorry, that was from the other video. I got them mixed up again. Here's the right clip.
And with natural human logic that says that painting is made by a painter. And with the same logic, this universe must have been made by a creator as well.
Yeah, so I do kind of like, though, that the strategy in this video is just to say, I don't have to actually prove anything. Like, it's proving a law's existence in 6 minutes and 40 seconds minutes, but I don't have to do it. You should already believe me, because I said so. Something AI airplane. I'm not going to complain when people like this just give up. It makes things easier for me.
Now, an atheist might ask a question.
That's true. I have seen that once or twice.
We can't see the creator of this universe, so why should we believe?
Irrelevant. We're not talking about seeing it. We're talking about there being some sort of reason to believe it. Do you have that?
What if there is no creator of this universe and there was an other event that generated the entire universe? Let's just say, just to give you an example, if an atheist says that there is no creator of this universe and the universe is made by, let's just say, quantum fluctuations, then if that atheist wants people to believe that, then he has to provide proof of it.
Is this deja vu? Why do I feel like we already covered this? Yes, any person who wants people to believe something that they don't already believe is going to have to do something to convince the other person to believe the thing they don't already believe. Or just accept that the other person will continue to believe what they already believe. If you want to convince somebody of something, you can either do something to convince them or not. I personally don't care all that much which one you pick. It's up to you.
We who believe in the creator of this universe. We don't have to provide proof of it.
Okay, so you're picking not bothering to convince anyone. That's kind of weird for a video called Proving Allah's Existence. But hey, it's fine. If you don't feel like bothering, you don't have to. It's just a surprising change of mind, that's all.
Because believing in the creator of this universe is natural human logic. It's a natural human logic that if painting is made by a painter, then this universe must be made by a creator as well. This is true by default. This is natural human logic. Now, if someone says, no, it's not like that,
They are going against a normal human logic to believe in a creator of this universe.
You keep hammering this. Natural human logic, natural human logic, natural human logic, as if repeating this enough is going to make it true by default. Or I should say believed by default, or make people think it is. Well, sorry, I don't just believe your claim that this is natural human logic. Frankly, I'm a little unsure what you exactly mean by it because you didn't really specify it. But as I said, I think what you mean is something like common sense, something that's intuitive. It almost has a little bit of the tone of the argument from 5-year-old. Ask a 5-year-old if it's true. The 5-year-old will tell you. I'm not sure if that's what you're going for, but I'm getting a little bit of that off of this. It's the thing people believe before they put any serious thought into it whatsoever. It's a default assumption. It's the sort of thing that feels like it makes sense based on a superficial initial understanding of the world that you get when you're a kid, maybe even based on instinct. If that sort of thing is not what you mean by normal human logic, then I don't know what you mean. So let's just take this idea seriously for a second. Let's assume for a second that the default idea that children hold is that everything that they see was made by someone. Well, if this is the natural first stage of thinking, the lowest level, least considered initial assumption humans make, does that make these answers automatically correct just on the basis that they're natural? Does it make those answers justified in any meaningful sense? Does it make it foolish to question them? What if reality is deeper than the shallowest possible interpretation? What if discovering the truth of what's going on often requires looking more deeply than the first uninformed guess? Is the claim that that's not the case? If so, that's a very big claim. It seems entirely contrary to the history of discovery. I don't see why I should take any claim seriously on the basis of what you're saying, even if I believe what you're saying. In fact, when you say things like it's just a natural belief and that's the end of the story, nothing else needed, I don't see that as supporting what you're saying. That makes it immediately seem deeply suspect. It makes it seem like your idea has no legs. If kids naturally think there are monsters under the bed, or that when you pour the water into a taller, skinnier glass, there's suddenly more water, if it's intuitive to think that heavy objects fall faster and the earth is flat and objects stop unless a force keeps pushing them, if adults think the water in Piaget's water level test rests at a diagonal and that every random object in the world has a different god living in it and that the universe is some sort of large-scale art exhibit, does that mean these should be accepted without any supporting evidence when they're explicitly claimed by an adult in a debate? Should we be accepting all of these claims and more simply on the basis that they feel right? Should we not even be considering the question, okay, but is this actually true? And based on what? Well, my answer to whether we should be doing that will depend on how useful that approach is to finding the truth, which is our goal here, right? And if that is the goal, then not only do I not see this as useful, I see it as totally counterproductive. It's self-sabotage. To approach questions of fact by privileging intuition over evidence, what your imagination tells you over what reality tells you, doesn't accomplish anything but getting stuck in intellectual ruts for centuries. Whether it's intuitive to you or not, whether you like it or not, the fact remains that discovering how things actually are has usually required abandoning the assumption that our brains come pre-filled with accurate knowledge about everything, and realizing that we don't know things just because we think we do. Reality is much bigger and deeper than us. It doesn't need to reflect us, or our feelings, or our assumptions, or our societies, or our personalities, or anything like that. This idea that this natural human logic is a reason to believe things only seems compelling if you care more about what feels true than about what is true. And if that's how you feel, have at it, but don't expect me to hobble myself intellectually just to follow your example.
So if they want people to believe that there is no creator of this universe, and this universe, for example, let's just say it's made by quantum fluctuations.
I don't care about you believing anything like that. You care about me believing you. You want to prove something to me, not the other way around. I'm not here making a video called Proof that the universe originated from quantum fluctuations. You want to prove the thing, prove the thing. If you don't want to, and you just want to do that thing that for some reason so many theist videos have in them now, that amounts to, I don't have to prove anything, you should just believe me already, then then fine, don't bother. But don't try to make this about me or whatever ideas you think I have.
Then they have to provide proof for that because they are going against natural human logic.
That's nothing to do with why they would have to provide proof of it. The only reason anyone would have to provide proof of anything is if you don't believe it and they want you to. That's it. It doesn't matter if your belief is natural human logic and their belief is unnatural, inhuman logic. It doesn't make any difference. This is about a social interaction. Somebody has a position you don't share. They want to bring you to their position. It's their responsibility to figure out how to do that or decide not to. And likewise, if you want me to come over to your position, maybe you're right. Maybe it's the most natural belief in the world. But that doesn't change the fact that for whatever reason, I don't have it. Now what? You're going to tell me you should just believe me anyway because it's natural. Hey, who knows? Maybe I should. But I don't. I shouldn't have to prove this to you. Hey, maybe you're right, buddy. Maybe you shouldn't have to. Maybe it's a grave cosmic injustice that I don't just believe you because you said so, or that I don't just feel like it's true already, based on nothing. But that doesn't change the fact that I don't believe you. And if you want my mind to change, you're gonna have to say something meaningful to change it, regardless of whether it should be like that or not. See, this is another instance where reality doesn't care what you feel about it. You can try to impose your little rules on it about who's supposed to believe what and why, and who's supposed to prove what to who, but the fact remains that the state of people's minds is still what it is. You want to legislate reality away, but I'm afraid that doesn't work.
We as normal humans who believe in the creator of this universe, we don't have to provide proof for the creator of this universe because believing in a creator of this universe is natural human logic.
Right, so really there's no argument here. All there is we're normal, you're abnormal, our thinking is natural, yours is unnatural, fuck you. So in reality, this is not an argument, it's an insult in fancy packaging. Which really goes to show that none of this is intended to actually prove Allah to anyone who doesn't already believe he exists. This is to make your fellow Muslims feel better.
And still, many atheists still make these false assumptions against the natural human logic.
You mean against your assumptions, which you assume are true, because they're yours.
And atheists have these false assumptions, but instead of using this logic, they start to make false assumptions. And unfortunately, many average people believe that, and many average people unfortunately fall for it. And some people, when they believe those atheists, they think that they are smart and intelligent and they have high IQ, but they started believing an atheist with no proof. And they left the natural human logic, which is to believe in a creator of this universe.
So you do at least accept the existence of people who actually don't believe you. You accept that these people have become convinced of something other than your belief, and therefore there would actually be something to convince them of. It's not like you're saying believing in God is natural human logic and therefore everyone always believes it. You might be saying they believe it when they're very young, or something like that, who knows? Kinda unclear. You might even be saying it should be obvious to everyone, but regardless, you're admitting the existence of people who don't believe it, and therefore that you do, in fact, need to prove something to convince those people that your position is correct, regardless of how natural human logic your belief is, which means this entire discussion has been completely pointless.
If you like the first proof,
there wasn't a first proof. All you've said so far is I don't have to prove anything. That's explicitly, intentionally, you not giving a proof. So we've essentially done nothing this entire time. You probably could have cut this down to like 2 minutes and 40 seconds minutes.
Then you'll also like the second proof, inshallah.
Okay, Allah, will me to like it. It's gonna take all your power, I bet, because this is gonna suck.
And that is, things in the universe could have been arranged a different way. So that means that things in the universe are the way they are for a reason.
For a reason. That term's gonna be a sticking point, isn't it? Kind of like when Ed talks about why does the sunset look like it does? And I talk about how light interacts with the atmosphere, and he's like, no, but why though? Why did someone want it that way? Okay, that's obviously not what I mean when I talk about why something is how it is. I'm an atheist. And it's gonna be the same kind of thing here too, I bet. What's the reason the Earth is roughly spherical? Why not a cube instead? Okay, well, gravity and... Yeah, but what's the reason, though? What's the point of it? What was the goal of it? I bet that's gonna happen. Tell me I'm wrong.
Have you ever noticed why humans are created the way they are created?
Have I noticed why? No. How would I notice a why? Like it's a property of the human I can just observe.
Or have you ever noticed that why there is cycles of night and day on this earth?
No, I also haven't noticed why that. I'm pretty sure I can explain why that pretty decently, but that's a different issue.
The plants, the fruits, the way cells in our bodies work. It is such a complex system. And when we ponder on it, we will realize that these things must have been created by an independent creator for a reason.
Oh, we will realize it, will we? Okay, well, I've pondered on it, and I have not realized it, so you appear to be incorrect. Oh, by the way, I was totally right about what you meant by reason. Big shock, huh?
If there was a change in the gravitational constant, life would not exist on this earth. So the gravitational constant and other things in the universe are made by fine-tuning, and that's why life exists on this planet. So which indicates that all of the universe is created by an independent creator who got the ability to make these complex things.
Or that physical things happen under conditions under which those physical things can occur, and not under other conditions. You seem to be starting from essentially the premise that there must be life. That's predefined, that's the goal, and then the universe had to conform to that goal. It's actually very similar thinking to the previous point, about how the truth about reality somehow follows your personal feelings and unconsidered assumptions. You have this habit of putting the cart before the horse. You're making yourself the important one, and then demanding that reality conform to you. I don't think that's how it works. I don't think you're that important. I think you're here because you're able to be. I don't think there was any requirement for it whatsoever. This entire class of arguments that require treating humanity or life more broadly as the center of reality, the goal of reality, sometimes even above reality in some sense, is something I have a ton of trouble getting on board with because I don't see how it's justified beyond you wanting it to be. I think it makes a lot more sense that things being as they are happened to enable your existence, rather than that your existence demanded that things be as they are. And I know you're not going to agree on that, and I'm not trying to convince you of it. I'm just trying to explain to you why this kind of thinking isn't going to work on me immediately, and why you have a lot more work to do than you think you do to get me to your God conclusion. Because you have so many underlying assumptions that I don't share, which you're going to first have to convince me to accept. These discussions rarely rise to the level of actually being about God's existence. Usually they're about much more fundamental differences in the way of thinking or worldview, which really should get a lot more focus. They should really be the things people are trying to support long before God himself.
So now we agree that this universe is created by an independent creator.
Very presumptuous of you. Anyway, now we're getting into a lot more stuff that really was covered in the first video. At least mostly. I'll give you a taste of how samey this gets.
So now we agree that this universe is created by an independent creator. So now that we agree that this universe got a creator, then you might ask the question, who created that creator? Then you might ask the question, who created the creator? The point is, if someone says that the creator of this universe got a creator, then the question will come up, who created that creator? If the creator of this universe had a creator, then the question will come up, then who created that creator? After that, the question will come up, who created the other creator that created the creator? After that, the question will come up, who created the other creator that created the creator? If we go on this forever, this cycle would never have had ended. And for that reason, we would not have had this universe in the first place. If we go on this forever, this cycle would never end. And for that reason, we wouldn't have had this universe in the first place. This dependent universe is a proof that all of the universe must have been created by an independent creator that is not created by anything. This dependent universe is a proof that all of the universe must have an independent creator that is not created by anything.
Yeah, you know, it's one thing to repeat an argument. Obviously, I do that all the time. Mainly because I'm responding to people who have a limited set of arguments, generally. But copying yourself verbatim from video to video is a different level. And that happens quite a lot in this video. Speaking of which...
With that point, I want to say that as you can see that I make these videos for free, and these videos take so much effort, time, and energy. You can see that I make these videos for free. And these videos take so much time, effort, and energy.
Yeah, I can see the time, effort, and energy dripping off of this. Spit out 6 minutes of garbage arguments, and half of them you copied directly from yourself, word for word. Ooh, what a time-consuming project.
Link in the description where you can donate me money to support my work. Link in the description where you can donate me money. May Allah reward you if you donate.
I think I got enough rewards. Allah and me, we're tight. We're best bros, so I'm set. But hey, these videos take so much time, effort, and energy. Donate me money, please. You might have a better chance of going to heaven if you do, just saying. All these supporters you see on the screen, they're basically guaranteed entry. That's the arrangement. Alright, subscribe, like, thank you for watching, see you next time. I left the window open in the basement for 4 days by accident, and now it's really cold down here, so my glasses steam up when I breathe.